Well, we can go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for being here on a Friday night. I'd say chilly, but it's warmed up. Balmy. Is it quite balmy yet? Cozy. Oh. It's when you know you're like hardcore Midwest, like, oh, that's great outside. What is it? 28? Yeah, it's great. Oh, inside is cozy. Okay, all right, okay. Um, well, welcome everyone. Welcome to those of you who maybe this is your first time at Common Ground, or welcome back to those of you who have visited before. And my name is Stacy McClendon. I'm one of the teachers here at Common Ground and have been holding this space every other month or so on Friday nights to reflect on loving kindness for a few years now. This orientation of the heart to goodwill or kindness. I often just say care, because loving kindness, we get all caught up in like love and what that means and who's deserving. But somehow, at least for me, like just caring isn't as activating, you can say. And it's a little more stark when we say we don't care about this person or that group of people. Uh, yeah. So we will sit together. I'll offer a little guidance and so a little bit of reflection on a theme, and then we'll do something that's different, at least for me, leaving most of the time to hear from you all. So we'll see how that goes. Um, yeah. Yeah, so find a posture that supports settling, that supports this full attention to the present moment, not straining or tight, sort of the body alert and still relaxed, at ease. You can just check in with the body, finding center, sensing where there's energy or dullness, warmth or coolness. We're just relaxing into the way that it is. We don't need to do anything at all. Be interested, relaxed. And all of the activity that arises and passes at the sense gates, sounds, sensations, smells, and thoughts too. We can simply watch them arising, not getting entangled, trying to judge or weed out, but just allowing phenomena to arise on its own and pass. meeting each experience, each sound, sensation, smell, taste, thought, with curiosity. With this patient, caring attitude. This attitude of care doesn't require that conditions are any particular way. We can meet agitation with care and kindness no differently than we meet the silence, the stillness. And perhaps it's a greedy mind wanting more quiet or wanting to be the best meditator. And without judging or shutting this greedy mind down, we meet it as we would a friend. Open, allowing. And we can offer to this friend wishes for well-being, may you be peaceful and at ease. May you be safe and protected from harm. May you be happy. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be safe and protected from harm. May you be happy. And just letting the heart, mind, body be filled with this intention for goodness. Not concerned about who deserves it or whether they'll actually find happiness. From our heart to the other hearts. And as our own heart, it's full with this goodwill, loving kindness. We can allow ourselves to send these wishes outward to a benefactor or mentor. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be safe and protected from harm. May you be happy. We're not trying to rearrange anyone's life or fix all that needs holding in their lives, but simply that they find their way to peace, to ease, safe and protected from harm. May you be happy. When we're not resisting or spinning some narrative of who deserves peace. This kindness, this attitude of care, warm and flowing, it simply feels good to share. And so perhaps we're less inclined to try to direct or edit who we offer these loving wishes to. And to perhaps even to the folks we don't know very well. Maybe someone in this room, or we passed on the sidewalk, clerk at the grocery store. Wanting them too to be peaceful and at ease. safe, protected from harm. May you be happy. And we can feel our own hearts opening, expanding with this warmth of care and the cold edginess of withholding care, withholding kindness, or what we might call the difficult people in our lives. Perhaps someone we've had a difficult journey with, or more recently a hard conversation, or someone who's hurt us. We can feel in our own hearts withholding care, or even worse, wishing ill will. It doesn't support our own well-being or connection with another. And so to this person too, we offer, may you be peaceful and at ease. May you be safe, protected from harm. May you be happy. And perhaps there's a moment of wisdom and this love and this caring where it doesn't quite make sense to have these categories of people: self, friend, benefactor, neutral person, or difficult person. But a genuine wish that all beings, everywhere without exception, know peace, know ease. May all beings be safe and protected from harm. May all beings be happy. take a minute to stretch, move your body if you need to. And yeah, for the folks here at the center, maybe turn to someone near you and say hello, introduce yourself, and maybe the folks online can drop a hello in the chat. All right. Well, hello, Zoom friends, and hello, live friends, I guess. I don't know. In-person friends. Ah. Yeah, this is a really sweet way to end the week or to spend a Friday evening. Maybe it's the beginning of your week, but to spend a Friday evening being really intentional about remembering and cultivating, yeah, this attitude. You know, we often talk about it as this sort of, this heart feeling. The Buddha didn't really discern between heart, mind, body. And so just remembering that this warm feeling in the heart or this attitude of the mind isn't dependent on perfect stillness and just all the good people in our lives and the right job and living in the right place, like all of the things that we want, many of us, right? But this contentedness is available to us all of the time. And not to be ignoring or in denial about difficulty that's happening in the world, right? But in the face of, like, what a powerful way to meet, yeah, difficulty. And maybe you felt it at the beginning of the meditation yourself when I suggested, maybe you're agitated or irritable, and just meeting that part of ourselves with this patient kindness. Like, oh, yeah, that feels good to not have to be on the attack or trying to push something out. Just this tenderness that can exist. Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit more about that. But first, we have a tradition of opening our hearts to receive the messages of community members. So in the corner here at the city center, we have a statue of Kuan Yin, who is the Dewa of compassion. So holding all of the sorrows of the world. And so people drop by, or maybe after a program, and yeah, offer something for Kuan Yin to hold in her heart. Sometimes she's depicted as having like 1,000 arms, right? Because the compassion doesn't always look like this, like warm, soft, melty, right? Sometimes, like in one hand, she might have a sword or fire, right? So yeah, so our lovely program host, Chelsea, is going to read, yeah, just the entries from the last month. And in between, we'll take a breath and just receive it. And it's really beautiful. Like, we don't need to know the backstory of whatever. We just can receive. Sometimes it's celebrating. Sometimes it's just holding and yeah, meeting with transitions and difficulty. Yeah, it's allowing it to land in our hearts without needing to fix it. Yeah.
Metta for those who feel caught in thought spirals. Metta for those who are in transformational moments in their lives. May they give grace to who they are walking away from and have compassion for who they are becoming. Metta for all those experiencing war and to oppressors who are building terrible karma for themselves. For Silky. Metta for the kind souls that donate their time and resources to this meditation center. Lay R for healing and good health and recovery from physical illness. Happy holidays. Much love. Metta for emotionally immature parents. Those of us who are children of emotionally immature parents, and all of us who are doing our best to shift patterns and heal our lineages. For Roberta and her dog Scruffy that needs to be put to sleep, both of them suffering. Peace to them in this time and healing for grief. Fall in love with autumn and timeliness. No, timelessness. I think that's what that says. Deep good wishes to Tanuja as she makes her way through the dying process, and to her friends, family, husband, and 4 children as they reckon with all that comes in relation to love and loss.
Thanks, Chelsea. Yeah, just let that land, right? And curious, like how that lands for you, pets passing, people passing, and then the oppressor, right? I mean, what is it? Hurt people, hurt people. So why wouldn't we wish all beings, all of them, happiness? Right? And we can get a really clear sense in our own bodies when we're shutting that down, right? We get tight. You feel it like, oh no, not them, right? Or the mind reels into our favorite narrative of why that group of people deserves to be punished, or they don't deserve goodness, or they've used up all their goodness in this life, or whatever it is, right? It's very different. It's a very different feeling. then when we were sitting and maybe even imagining that difficult person in our life, right? Because we had been sitting for a while and maybe it was like, I'm not going to get too close, but yeah, I do want you to be happy over there, right? And that gets to be okay too, because there is this misconception about loving kindness that that means everyone's in the inner circle. Everyone comes over for all of the things, and that's not what it means. It means that we don't hold ill will in our heart for their humanness. Mm. So I'm going to talk just a very little bit, and then I hope to hear from you all. This idea of metta as a strength, metta as like a superpower, to be able to meet all of the things. I'm going to try really hard not to swear tonight, but I've been saying shit show a lot when I talk about this. So I'm going to try. So I got it out of the way. I'm not going to say it anymore. But yeah, this body, this heart, this mind that encounters, maybe it's not the oppressor. Maybe it's just an irritable person, right? Or someone who's intentionally mean or intentionally deceitful, or maybe they are just outright angry and hostile. And how has it worked for us to meet their fire? There's a story. Someone has a story right over here. Like, oh, let me tell you, right? There is a story. I'll tell the story. And then I'm going to read a poem, and then we'll hear your stories. So one is a Buddhist sort of allegory that sort of comes back to this question of how we're showing up in difficulty. So, and the other is a very worldly poem of a similar theme. So the Buddha is wandering the countryside as monastics do, looking for a village to land in for the night or the season, and he happens upon this gathering of ascetics, of Buddhist practitioners in the woods, and he approaches them and says, can I stay here? These are, as the story goes, ascetics who worship fire, and so they have a fire hut. May I stay in your fire hut? And the lead person of this village says, oh no, there is a evil serpent in that hut, and we cannot allow you to stay there. You will surely be harmed. And so the Buddha, he asks a second time, and as is tradition, he asks a third time. And as it goes, I don't know if this is still true, but if you ask 3 times or more than 3 times as the person being asked, you're sort of obliged to say yes. This because asking that 4th time implies this is really important. And so the Buddha asks, may I stay in your hut? Perhaps I will not be harmed. And the lead says, so be it. Do it, do as you please. And so the Buddha enters the hut and makes his bed and sits down to meditate on his bed, and the serpent appears. Not happy. The Buddha did not ask the serpent. And so the serpent makes an effort to show the Buddha this is his space, and so he produces smoke. The Buddha, undeterred, produces his own smoke, which absolutely enrages the serpent, who then blows fire. Now, the Buddha, he's the Buddha. So he has committed his life to speaking, acting in ways that do not cause harm. And so, with this attitude, he produces his own fire, but a fire that will not harm the serpent. And so the story goes that the hut is ablaze all night. The monastics outside are worried for the Buddha. Surely he's not going to survive this. And lo and behold, in the morning, the Buddha emerges with his begging bowl, with his alms bowl that has this serpent in it. And we don't know how big the serpent was. I like the idea that the serpent has been reduced to something harmless by the Buddha's fire of care and kindness, right? So that the Buddha didn't retreat, nor did he attack the serpent, but he met the serpent with an equal intensity, but without causing harm. So I'm really curious, like, how do we, like, that's our practice, right? That is what we are practicing for, to be able to show up when the going gets rough, right? With clarity, with patience, with kindness, right? Because being kind doesn't mean we don't give voice to the difficult truths. It doesn't mean we don't stand up for what's right, what's good, what's fair, right? And I think sometimes as Buddhists, we struggle with that, like this desire for harmony, you know, which sometimes reads as, I don't know how it reads because I'm not inclined toward harmony, but I'm inclined toward fire. But yeah, what's easy, what's not going to cause a problem, what's not going to ruffle feathers, so to speak, right? So that's the question. So ponder that. I'll read this poem that really I'd love to hear from you on. Someone was telling me, I don't know if they were here or if they were just, this just got passed along, that someone was at a protest where there was police force, armed people threatening to do physical harm, break someone's wrists or something like that. And the protester, who had been trained in some particular way, maybe mindfulness, simply looked at this officer, this person, in the eye and said, "You don't have to do that." And you know, that I don't know how true this is, but then that was disarming, and the person ceased with their threats, right? Not degrading the person or belittling, simply, you don't have to do that. And what is it for us, each of us individually, that supports us in showing up with that confidence, that rootedness? And I am certain that kindness is the way. I can tell you the truth. I can say the thing that maybe you don't want to hear, but because I care, right? We can give voice to what needs to be heard. I have a friend who, I'm not sure if she believes it. She says it a lot, so I should just trust that she believes that, you know, some people, they don't understand kindness. They just need to be dealt with the same way that they deal with other people. And I can't believe it. I just can't. I cannot imagine that there is a human being that can't receive kindness. Maybe they haven't had it in such a long time, they don't know what to do with it, or it makes them feel so vulnerable or exposed, they don't know how to receive it. But is that cause for us to spew hate or ill will? Yeah, so what is the fire that you have met successfully or unsuccessfully with the fire of metta? So this is a poem. I was having dinner with a friend the other night, Arlita Little, who is a former board chair here, and she is the executive director at the Loft and a very talented writer and poet. And so she's always talking poetry. And I was telling her about this sort of talk. I was just like, Sonia Sanchez, who is was a fiery poet. And this, like fiery in all the ways, social justice, women's rights, human rights. And so this poem is entitled Catch the Fire. I'm not sure who this parenthetical opening is directed to, but I'll just read it anyway. Sometimes I wonder what to say to you now in the soft afternoon air as you hold us all in a single death. I say, where is your fire? I say, where is your fire? You got to find it and pass it on. You got to find it and pass it on from you to me, from me to her, from her to him, from the son to the father, from the father to the brother to the sister, from the daughter to the mother, from the mother to the child. Where is your fire? I say, where is your fire? Can't you smell it coming out of our past? Not the fire of living, I'm sorry, the fire of living, not dying. The fire of loving, not killing. The fire of blackness, not gangster shadows. Where is our beautiful fire that gave light to the world? The fire of pyramids, the fire that burned through the holes of slave ships and made us breathe. The fire that made guts into chitlins. I'll tell you what those are if you don't know. The fire that took rhythm and made jazz. The fire of sit-ins and marches that made us jump boundaries and barriers. The fire that took street talk sounds and made righteous raps. Where is your fire? The torch of life full of Nat Turner and Garvey and Du Bois, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Martin and Malcolm and Mandela. Sister, brother, come catch your fire. Don't kill, hold your fire. Don't kill. Learn your fire. Don't kill. Be the fire. Don't kill. Catch the fire and burn with eyes that see our souls, walking, singing, building, laughing, learning, teaching, being. Hey, brother, sister, here is my hand. Catch the fire and live, 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 live. Hmm. It's like the Buddha, it's a call to action. This practice is not intended to be passive. It is intended to hold us up to the fire. Oh. So it's your turn now. Mm. Thank you.
On the way over here, I was calling my mom just to check up, and then we ended up talking about my dad, which created a stressful situation. It was really ironic that I was on my way to a meditation class and getting increasingly riled up. But I am going home for Christmas. My family lives in Texas, and I know I need to have a conversation with my dad about the way he's raising my three younger brothers. He's going on a religious journey. He's been getting increasingly, I guess, non-denominational Christian. I'm not really sure what it is, but which I don't have a problem with. You know, my brother is on a much healthier path, but like the way that he's been going about it seems to be feeding this like very narcissistic kind of view of life and family, you know, like he's becoming so focused on his relationship to God and his idea of like service to God that he is completely abandoning my brothers. Um, and so just talking to my mom about that was really stressful. I feel a sense of guilt and like responsibility being the oldest sister and like loving my brother so much and not really knowing what to do to like help them. And so I've been really struggling with, you know, knowing I'm going to go home for Christmas. My dad loves Christmas. He's very, very much into the idea of like this kind of reunion. And obviously it's really, you know, significant into Christianity and stuff. And so like, I know that he's been building like a lot of expectation for what this Christmas is going to mean. And yet I'm feeling my own kind of building sense of like needing to have this conversation with him about like just kind of his relationship to, you know, his responsibility, I guess, you know, and feeling so much resentment. And it's, I don't know, I just, this whole conversation is like a good reminder. I've been trying to figure out, I know I'm like super, especially with my family, like quick to kind of inflame and like, I don't know, just we're a big, like, very volatile family, you know, we can get really heated and really painful. And like, I can already feel like the tendency, like the quickness for it to get to that level. And, I don't know, I just will be thinking about this conversation and how to meet that with like strength, but also like seeing like his own pain and vulnerability. Like that's a big thing I've been seeing in him is like, as he keeps going down this path, he's getting lonelier and lonelier, you know, and he's all of his kids are kind of going away from him, but he's like then going deeper into like what he thinks is the right path, you know? So I know that he's doing it for the right reasons. It's just I feel like he's going in the total opposite direction of where he thinks he is. Um yeah. So, you know, just it's gonna be difficult, but like I'll try to remember I don't know, like how to speak with like strength and kindness and sympathy and empathy and forgiveness and like genuine concern for my brothers and not anger at him, you know, and hope he listens.
Yeah, no, you answered. I had a question going, like when you like walk away from that conversation that you haven't had yet, what is it that you want him to understand from you? And I think you finished with it, like, I care about you. I'm happy that you found this, and here's what I see as an impact, right? I mean, because ultimately it's his life to live. Not to say that it doesn't affect your mom or your brothers, but like, what is the message that any of us, when we're speaking to someone who's living their life in a way we know they should not, or we think they shouldn't, we have some strong feelings about it or judgment about it, right? Like, what is it? Are we wanting connection? And is what we're about to say going to support that connection? Will they hear the care in our heart with the words that we are choosing? And I don't mean to suggest that any of us will get it right all of the time, or even like all right some of the time. We might like start off strong or, you know, in the middle, say something that's really skillful and kind. Because these habits of the way that we relate to one another, and especially our families, the people that we know really well, those are deeply, deeply rooted habits. Just like you said, you're like, oh, my family's like this, and I can just see myself just falling in line. We all do. Most of us do. We go home and we're 8. We go home and we're 13. Like we're just like acting out all the things that we always did, right? And so what is it that supports us in sustaining this vibe when it's chaos, right? For me, it's been having an Airbnb, like not staying with my family when I go home, right? So I can remember, oh yeah, you can settle, you know how, versus just this like, because it doesn't come down. This is my family. It just doesn't come down. You're just like ramping up every day and it doesn't feel good. And it's hard to keep showing up as our best selves as we envision ourselves. So good luck. Yeah. But it is just that, just remembering our own capacity and not expecting anything else to change, right? Because what family member loves that? Well, what you need to do is go meditate because it's working for me and I'm good now. You just need to calm down. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure it's been said. I'm sure it's been said by a good Buddhist. Yeah, yeah. Mm. There's lots of fire out there. And I know there's lots of fire in here too. And then here, you had your hand up too? Okay, thank you. Yep, here for a second.
Is this on?
Yep, you just have to hold it really close and,
I'm loud, so I also project.
but the people online wouldn't be able to
Sorry,
hear you.
yes,
Yeah,
I'll
there you
project for you.
go.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think this is the first time where so I'm a very fiery person. I'm a Sagittarius, if that means anything to anyone in the room, but I'm like triple fire actually. So I'm probably one of the most fiery people, most people I've ever met. And it's interesting because I've had this until this evening in hearing you also self-identify as fiery in this conversation being about bringing fire into the practice of Buddhism. There's always been this, I guess I'll say self-talk that like, oh, being a good Buddhist is like, you have this like detachment and you're like, there's like this calm, like non-reactionary, like a level of detachment. And I am not someone who intuitively is able to detach. I'm like incredibly reactionary. And especially, I'm not going to get into politics, but like feel a lot of rage about things that are not just like they've started happening that since, it's been happening for millennia. But it's like interesting until this conversation, I think like there was this duality for me of like, oh, they don't, of almost like, oh, it would actually be inappropriate to like even come out to like everyone who knows me personally knows how fiery I am. But I think up until this moment, I haven't like, there was a Venn diagram of being like, oh, you can be a Buddhist and fiery at the same time. I never really saw the overlap until being like, oh, there's actually a place for both of them in that practice of like, and it was interesting in hearing you share the story of the Buddha of like, of Buddha being like, okay, I also have fire, but I'm going to use the fire not to harm. So it's like integrating the practice of like, of acknowledging this in me, but at the same time being like, but do no harm, which is foundational to who I am, of being like, okay, I know that the fire is a gift, like this energy is a gift on a level. And at the same time, it's like, but do no harm. So I'm like, there's like interesting swirlings of like, okay, like the integration of that. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, and there are uh, very deep teachings about, I don't know that the word is necessarily detached, but not getting entangled, right? Either externally and, drama, or just in the drama of our own minds, right? Sort of like believing this proliferation of thoughts until it's perfectly reasonable to set someone's house on fire, or something like that, right? Because when we don't when we don't have a balancing practice, right, or even people in our lives who we trust and will listen to say, hey, maybe that's too much, it begins to sound very reasonable, right? Even that reactivity. And not to say don't be reactive. The Buddha just said don't cause harm. Don't make it worse than it already is. Actually, if you can make it better, that's ideal. And so can you do that and be reactive? Like that's a very skillful thing. And so that's the aim, not whether or not you have fire in your heart, or, you speak with an elevated voice sometimes, or you wave your hands around when you're talking, right? There are all of these sort of like guidelines, how we talk. Is it truthful? Is it timely? Is it kind? Is it what's needed in this moment, right? And not just the volume. All right, but because we're in relationship, I'm doing all of this and raising my voice, and you're like, you're scaring me. Like I get to receive that, right? Because we're in relationship, and because I care, and I want to be connected, and I want you to hear what I'm saying. Like, am I willing? Is it important enough for me to adjust? Right? Because you can't hear me if I'm friggin' scaring you. And it doesn't help for me to say, well, it's not my fault you're scared, or whatever it is, right? The truth is, they are afraid, or, this made up scenario. And so we get to adjust. And that's present moment awareness. It's not there, here's the rule. I get to yell and wave my arms as long as I'm not causing harm, right? It's like, oh, is this beneficial right now? Right? I have this friend, raising my voice, waving my arms is not going to go. They're not going to be able to hear me. This person over here, they're going to be waving their arms around and yelling right with me. And that works. And so we're responding to the conditions of the moment, the connection, the relationship in the moment. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll see if I can remember what I wanted to say, but you asked the question of, so where's your fire?
Yeah.
So the fire, the light, I really think, in my experience, I've experienced that it's just veiled, right? Everybody has it. It's just veiled. And what is it veiled by? Lots of things, right? Habits that you spoke of, our conditioning, pain, trauma, brokenness.
Mm.
And I've been at this practice for a really long time, 47, and my mom can always get me, and it's a snappy response. I call it snappy, a snappy response. And at Thanksgiving, and I've been doing some pretty hardcore self-work in the last year. And at Thanksgiving, she, in her momness, did her mom thing at the dinner table, asking something very personal and vulnerable that she already knew the answer to. We already had a discussion on in front of everybody. And because I've been working on my brokenness and my confidence, and I've been working and healing in my own recovery, and my confidence has gained, I was able to meet that moment, right? And say, oh, we've talked about that already. Could we not talk about that again in front of everyone? Literally in that tone of voice. And yeah, it was a really, and the interesting part is that it was effortless, right? And like, that's when the magic happens, right? That's when you know you're going from concentration to meditation, right? Is that effortless part. And so I guess I just want to say that, again, I've been sitting on a cushion for a really, really long time, but until I started to work on my brokenness and I started to heal myself, I hadn't been able to get to that point. I think it takes more than just sitting on a cushion. And as far as like the detachment piece, for me, I see it as that entanglement. That's a great word. It's about not getting attached to some sort of, it's about intention and motivation. Like, what is your intention for saying or doing what you're going to say? What is the motivation? And can you let go of that? Can you surrender that? Can you be unattached to whatever your desired outcome is? Because if you're attached to a certain outcome, it's probably not going to go well. Yeah. So that's what I have to share. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I like to call that a Dharma success story, maybe with a little therapy built in, but like, I mean, because if you pass the mom test, you're kind of good.
Miracle.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll all like remember it, like, oh, it's possible, and you'll remember it the next time you get tugged, right? My friend says, like, every time someone sort of pulls your chain, you'll remember, like, oh, I don't actually have to follow the tug. Like, that's your stuff. And even just asking, like, I'm not sure what your intention is right now, is completely disarming. Because I mean, there's no fight there. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing. Thanks so much. Yeah. That not attached to the outcome is work. Because we want to be liked, believed, we want to be trusted, we want people to do what we think they should do, we want to be treated a certain way. And maybe the most meaningful want is to live and act and speak in alignment with what's true in our own hearts all of the time. I call it like being clean, like in recovery programs, we talk about clean time. But like, and I'm sure you all have had this, like walked away from an intense exchange. You said your thing, and you didn't cause any harm. You're like, I'm all right with it. Whatever happens. I said what I needed to say. I feel okay about it. Like I call that clean. Like there's no residue, no residue. I mean, personally, I just got tired of having to go back and clean up some mess that I made. All of the apology, like I just got tired of doing that. So like, how about I don't? How about I don't create a mess? I just say the thing, and sometimes I'm skillful, but sometimes I'm so nervous and afraid it comes out in weird ways. But my intention is to be clear and not cause harm. Anything from our Zoomers?
Yeah, I'd like to share. Um,
Can you put our speaker view?
can you see me all right?
We can. James, can you put them on speaker view? I don't know if that's, I don't know. I'm sorry. We'll just,
Okay.
okay, we're going to listen to you just as you are.
Yeah. So ICE is in Minneapolis and was driving around today, and a lot of our community was out
Oh, good.
really like, yeah, really kind of like embodying this energy of like, I don't know, it's interesting. It's like where does the line between like trying to control an outcome or trying to like control someone else's actions and like you know, self-defense and like preventing harm, you know, like where is that line? And I feel like seeing seeing people like using these nonviolent strategies or tactics in really effective ways was super powerful today. So I want to share that with the community. And and like, I'm definitely sitting in like how we care for ourselves and our nervous systems in like when we're, you know, like looking into the eyes of people holding pepper sprays that are the size of fire extinguishers out their window, you know, like that happened. And then also like the other thing that was an interesting reflection for me was like kind of like being in this place of like directing suspicion because we're out like looking for ice, right? And how like just kind of like really taking note of like what that feels like in the body to be kind of like embodying suspicion. And then I had a personal I had an incident happen where like without getting into the narrative of it, basically there was someone who was acting in an ambiguous way, and I was met with like I had the challenge of like both I guess like acting in a way that was boundaried, that like protected my prerogative, but also not treating them with, I guess, like undue suspicion or undue aggression or you know, like, and I found myself kind of on one with this man, and as the interaction subsided, I was like, oh, I didn't actually have to do that. Like I could have had as an effective boundary as I needed to have, without like, without like projecting as much like suspicion or aggression as I did. And like even walking away and I still don't know what was up with that dude. Like it was thoroughly ambiguous, you know, like what their role was. But I think, regardless, I was like, oh yeah, it didn't change, like adding aggression didn't make it more effective. Or it didn't make me more effective. So yeah, thanks you all for hearing this. And it was also, I want to return to like how powerful it felt to be in community and just how like really heartening it was to come together in this fiery way. And then like there's something about like something kind of meta about like stepping forward and like really seeing people be like, we're not going to allow this. Or like, maybe we can't control the outcome, because if we get too into controlling the outcome, then maybe we take it too far into that, like we're actually like creating more harm, because we get obsessed about, you know, we get tight and obsessed and maybe can't be in that kind of more adaptive or responsive place. And I feel like I really like witnessed a lot of people in that like adaptive responsive place. And also sort of like doing everything within our power to like prevent as much harm as possible, or at least draw attention to harms that are happening, or or just like really like stand, like kind of like take a stand, right? Like just to like on the record like let it be known that this is how South Minneapolis feels about this activity. So yeah, that was, it was really powerful. So I wanted to share that with the community. Thank you all.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing, and thank you for yeah, showing up. I've been I live in St. Paul, and I've been feeling this, yeah, call to action, like do something. And that's what's come into my awareness the last couple of days, is just being a physical presence in neighborhoods, like peacefully. Like, we care about our community. We're not going to just let this happen, right? Because turned away or just didn't show up. Like, no, we're going to show up. It's cold, and we're going to show up, right? And so there's invitations out there. Monarca is a great organization, MONARCA. It's a great organization that is providing a lot of education and training on how to be an upstander, not a bystander, but an upstander. So go to their website if you are so moved. I know there's calls from the mosques to just have a physical presence outside at prayer times. So yeah, there's things we can do that our presence and our energy, we are all embodied. And so showing up with this intention of fierce care, like in mass, it's powerful. It's powerful. And we reflect that goodness to one another. And we see ourselves when we step outside of our practice. We're like, oh, that was a lot. That wasn't necessary. Like, oh, I don't have to do that again. Right. And it's not about the outcome, because we all know there have been many peaceful protesters that have been harmed. And so when we show up in those spaces, we are showing up with that understanding also. That despite is no different than these wishes that we do in our meditation practice. No matter how much I wish for you to be happy, like, that's your journey. No matter how much I wish for you to be peaceful, there are some people that's not transformational for, and they will continue with whatever hate or violence moves them. And so some of us, we show up in different ways. But the call isn't to, like, I'm not sitting here saying you all need to be social activists in some sort of way. We all need to be attuned to what's moving in our heart and live accordingly. That's the call. And with that, we are at time, beautiful people. Thank you, everyone, for sharing and holding space and listening. And I hope you are interested in finding your fire, stoking it, letting it be known, because it's needed. It's absolutely needed right now. This is where I always fall off. Do I have announcements? Do you have announcements?
Yeah,
Elsa?
I'll say a few things.
Good.
Most of you might already know this, but just a reminder about the practice of Dharma here at Common Ground. So all the programs are offered freely, and you're invited to receive them freely. And if you would like to donate, there are lots of ways you can do that. There's a Venmo QR code out there. There's a card reader. You can also donate online. And when we have a guest teacher like Stacy, 2/3 of the donation goes to the teacher, and then 1/3 goes for the operational budget for the center. And yeah, if you're interested in volunteering, that's another way to give back. You can check in with me if that's something you're interested in. And there's, of course, a lot of programs coming up. So check the calendar. You can find it all online, and the bulletin board has a bunch of good stuff out there too. I think you're doing a half-day retreat coming up. No?
No, Shelley's doing,
Shelley is.
the other me. Shelley is doing a half-day
Okay.
retreat tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, yeah. So those are good opportunities to just get a little bit more in depth with your practice for like a 4-hour chunk of time and really settle in, and it can yeah, just really support deepening your practice. So I encourage you to do that. Other than that, thanks everyone for being here. I think we can just leave the room as it is, except we'll just slide the chairs against the back wall. Thanks, everyone. Have a good
Thanks
night.
so much, everyone. Take good care of yourselves. Be well.